Hello and welcome to the City of Sydney's Reboot webinar series. My name is Kate Pearden and I am your host for this special series. Now, before we begin today, I'd like to acknowledge and pay respect to the traditional owners of the land on which each of us meet. And as we share knowledge and learning today, may we also respect the knowledge embedded forever with the Aboriginal custodianship of country. We'd love to learn about each of the places that you're all calling in from. So open up the chat and type it in there and we can see how far our big community is today. Now, this Reboot webinar series is focused on practical and actionable insights to help businesses thrive across 3 key phases of business: run, grow, and adapt. Now, Reboot was originally developed to support local businesses in the aftermath of the 2020 COVID-19 lockdown. And if you've been joining since then, how fantastic. Please let us know in the chat. But also, if this is your first time, welcome. We're now in our 5th iteration. And Reboot in 2025 will be presented in 2 blocks of 5 webinars. We're currently in this first block, and they go for an hour and over lunch. And each webinar features a guest speaker. Today is talking about website, Emma. And Emma will also talk about case studies and tips you can apply immediately to help you and your business thrive. Now, we have big thanks to give to the City of Sydney, who is bringing this webinar today, and the whole series is proudly supported by Service New South Wales Business Connect. So Cynthia will pop a link in the chat so you can find out about how our Business Connect can provide you with free, independent, and tailored business advice. So let me tell you about what you can expect over this next hour. Emma is our guest expert, and she'll first share a presentation for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then 2 case studies about how businesses like yours have applied this knowledge. And one of these case studies is about a service business and one is about a product business. So hopefully there's something in here for everybody. And we'll also finish with 15 minutes of questions. You'll notice if you're familiar with Zoom or not so familiar, there's 2 different options for how you can contribute. One is the chat box and one is the Q&A box. So chat, which is where you've been adding in the comments so far. And then if you have a question that you'd like answered by Emma and myself at the end, put that in the Q&A box just so we don't get it lost in chat. So you can add those questions at any time today. Okay, now I'm very excited to introduce you today to our very special guest. This is Emma Sparrow, and she is talking about a wonderful topic of turning your website into a sales machine. Convert more online customers. Let me tell you a little bit about Emma. Emma is the founder and creative director of Sparrow Studios, and she has an all-women team of designers, developers, and strategists. So Sparrow Studios is known for building high-performing websites and brands that drive real results, not just look pretty. Now, she's originally from Canada, but she landed on the shores of Australia in Sydney and said, "This is the place I want to be." And she started building her career in branding and web design. And after several years in a corporate role, she launched her own business, Sparrow Studios, in 2019. Like a number of us, got sick of the corporate life. And she started really working in how to create brands that don't just look good, but perform. And her story might really resonate with you. She's grown from a solo agency or a solo venture to this powerhouse team of 10 people. And today, Emma and her team are recognized leaders in strategic designs and helping brands sharpen their online presence and scale with confidence. I'm particularly interested today in your presentation because it's such a great topic and something that we actually own our website versus everything else of social media that can disappear. And I think the number of people that have signed up is a good representation of how interesting this topic is for people.
Yeah, for sure.
So what have you got in store for us today, Emma?
Amazing. Thanks so much, Kate, for the lovely intro. That was awesome. We are going to dive deep into exactly what Kate said, turning your website into a sales machine, something that not just looks pretty, but actually works for your business. I'm really excited to meet you guys all and take you through our framework for that.
Wonderful. Let's get into it.
Let's go. Okay. So, a bit of an agenda so you guys all know what to expect in our time together today. Like Kate said, there'll be 20 minutes for the initial presentation. In there, we're going to talk about why a website matters in your business and our framework for creating a website that wins and helps grow your business. So, we have 3 steps that we take you through that. So, building your brand foundations, building a website for conversions, and then, of course, standout design. From there, you'll have some key action items that you guys can go ahead and screenshot and keep a copy of for yourselves to go in action after this webinar. And then we'll get into some case studies. And then, of course, at the end, there's definitely going to be time to answer some questions for you all. I'm sure that you'll have quite a few as we go through. There'll be a ton of information to get through. So, before we begin, let's take the temperature of the room. I want to know what your guys' businesses currently work with and what you're currently struggling with when it comes to marketing. So your website is a huge impactor in the rest of your marketing and how you actually get clients or customers to come through the door. So I want to understand what's your biggest challenges you're facing when it comes to getting customers. Is it A, I'm posting, emailing, showing up online, but seeing no return? Is it B, I'm getting leads, but they're just not the right fit or they're ghosting you? Is it C, it feels like everyone's doing the exact same thing as you, you're fighting your competitors? Or is it D, all the above? Let us know.
All right, so there's a poll up now. If you can't see it, you can have a look. Sometimes it sits in the chat. We have about 70% of people already answered it. So I'll give you another 5 seconds and then I'll share the results here. I can definitely tell you, in my own experience, it's a C. Feels like everyone's offering what I do and it's hard to stand out.
Yeah, yeah.
2 more seconds. Let's have a look.
So good. You guys are fast.
I'll share the results on screen now. So Em, talk us through these results.
Yeah, okay, interesting. So 45% of you are answers A. So I'm posting, emailing, showing up online, and just not seeing a return. We've got number C. It feels like everyone's offering the same thing. That's at 26%. All the above, 22%. And then I'm getting leads, but they're not the right fit, or they ghost me, 8%. Really interesting, guys. Perfect. So when you're framing your questions at the end, really to get the most values, think about that problem that we're wanting to solve and what you learned today, how we can improve on that problem that we're wanting to solve. Cool. Okay, one more question. Again, we've got to be really quick so we can get into everything. So, obviously a website sometimes can be a boring topic. I really want to know who avoids thinking, there we go. Who avoids thinking about their website because A, it's boring and I have better things to think about. B, I don't know or really care how it performs. We put our efforts into our marketing. C, none of the above. I'm actively working on our website. Or D, I don't have a website.
All right, we've got 50% answered. I'll give you another 7 seconds. All right.
Perfect.
And ending the poll. Oh, there's like a flurry.
Yeah.
Last second flurry. I love the engagement here.
It's like a game show. I love it.
It is. Okay, here we go. End poll. Sorry, we have to end it sometime.
Thanks, guys.
All right, the results should be on screen now.
Perfect. None of the above. Okay, round of applause for everyone. We're actively working on our website. That's great news. You guys have showed up. We've got the action points that we can all take some notes and come away with. So it's great to hear that 63% of you guys are actively working on your website. We've got a close tie for the top two. 12% of you think it's boring. I've got better things to think about. Very interesting, very interesting. The other ones, I don't really know or care about how it performs. We put our efforts into marketing. Okay, interesting, guys. And then we've got 15% that don't have a website. Okay. We'll talk about this in our next slide and how it truly impacts your business. Okay, so for all of you, 12% people that said it's too boring or you focus on other things, here is why you do need a website in your business. So your website is virtually your storefront. If there's a few of you that have brick and mortar, or there might be some of you that are purely online, your website is your storefront online. When it comes to your website, this is something that you actually own. So for example, with social media, you don't own social media, but you do own your website. So social platforms, as we know what happened with TikTok at the beginning of the year, or we've also seen with the algorithm, they're so unpredictable. Algorithms change, accounts get shut down, reach can drop overnight. Your website is the one piece of the internet that you actually own. A really big one as well is 8 out of 10 people are going to Google you before reaching out. Okay. Your site is where people go to decide to engage and then decide to buy. Okay. So your social media is where you drive them to the website. Your website is where they actually go ahead and make that decision. So it needs to be doing its job to build your credibility. And when done right, your website becomes the benchmark for your brand. It shapes how your business shows up everywhere else. It's a really important asset when it comes to your brand and your business. A strong site should build trust, consistency, and ultimately just build up your brand confidence. Okay. So a bit of a disclaimer for you all. We're going to be covering a lot of content. I'm going to be fitting in as 10 plus years of my experience into this presentation. And there's going to be a lot of information for you to consume and take with you. So please take lots of notes, have your notepad ready to go. Take screenshots as you go is crucial. I also know that the City of Sydney will have this up for a recording you guys can go back and listen to as well. But I am going to give you some homework. Sorry, we're back in school. You guys are going to get some homework that you walk away with and to go in action. But definitely be prepared to take those notes and those screenshots as well.
And the idea is there's something here from everybody. Don't feel overwhelmed. The idea is there's lots of content so you can find something that really works for you.
100%. Definitely. Cool. Okay. So like Kate said, we're very much leaders in the space when it comes to website and branding. We've worked with hundreds of different brands and businesses across Australia, across the world. And so we have our unique approach of how we build websites that are sales generating. And the key point is that when our clients work together, they're not just, when they work with us, they're not just walking away from us with a pretty website that looks good. They're also walking away with more clarity and action across their marketing channels, their brand and positioning, who they attract, and what they're building next. Because like I said in the slide before, your brand is, your website is your online home. It's your online storefront. So it's going to affect everything else when it's done right. So when we approach our framework, you'll see in the 3 different stages that I cover today that it's greatly going to influence the rest of your business and your brand when that 3-step framework is implemented properly. So for example, I've got a client here on the right-hand side. You can see a before and an after. Not only has the website changed, but their entire brand has changed. You can see the initial one before is a great starting website to get out there. It's got the content there, but the after, you can see it really focuses in on making a really strong brand that their ideal client wanted to see, that the messaging really clicks when someone reads it, really strong proof that they're an experts in their field.
And what I love about this that you're going through today, Emma, is as the untrained eye, I look at this and go, yeah, I mean, they both look nice, but the tip that you're going to show today is just how do you get those tweaks that it converts?
Exactly. And the case studies will be a great example of that as well. We'll get into detail where you guys can see some live examples. Okay. So our 3-step framework for this all, step 1 is we're going to be focusing on the brand foundations. So this is really clarifying your message, your positioning, your overall brand. This is the stage where you guys are going to have a bit of homework. It's you've got some questions and some things to dive into with your own brand for you to develop on your own, as this will become a bit of a process for you guys to go ahead and take that base and build those foundations. From there, step 2 will be building for conversions. So taking your brand and then structuring your website so it's clear, makes you credible, and encourages viewers to actually go ahead and take action. And then 3, we'll just touch on really lightly, but obviously it also needs to look impressive. If you're stepping into a space where you're wanting to be an industry leader, that's where standout design is really crucial. So that when someone lands there, they're actually impressed with your brand as a whole, and that initial snap judgment for them, it's building trust straight away. Cool. So for the brand foundations, we'll start with We really want to set your brand so it's strong and it makes you stand out amongst the internet noise. So when it comes to developing your brand, and not just your visual brand I'm talking about now, I'm getting into the actual foundations of your brand. So I'm talking about your brand strategy. So this is who you serve, what makes you stand out and different from everyone else, and why people should go ahead and choose you. Okay, this is where we screenshot everyone. There's a lot of information here. These are some prompts to think about and step away and really develop for your own brand and your business. And this is probably the step one in our framework is what most people just go right on past, because it's honestly, it can feel like the hardest part is really understanding who you are as a brand and what makes you stand out above everyone else. So some prompts I've listed here for you to think about I can go through a few, I won't go through all of them, but a really great one is, what 3 words would your best clients use to describe working with you? So really developing that. What kind of impact are you trying to create in your industry? Okay. Getting really clear why your business is here and how it's going to impact your ideal clients, or in fact, also the world.
And we've just got a question in the chat about receiving a copy of the pack. My understanding is that there's definitely a recording. The recording gets uploaded to the Reboot website, but there's not separate slides. So this is when Emma says, like, take a screenshot or take a photo on your phone.
Take a photo on your phone. Yeah. Yeah. Or if you are on your iPhone, hopefully you guys know how to take a photo with the buttons on the side. But yes, if not, there is definitely a recording on the website and you guys can go ahead and rewatch this back. Okay. Cool. Great question. The next point is, so who is your ideal client? So once you've really identified like why you've been put on this, why your business has been put on this earth, we want to figure out who we're serving. This is going to really affect all of those elements I'm going to talk about in the next stage of this framework. Is first, we need to understand who we're serving and who we're going to create all this content for. So who is your ideal client? What are their pain points? And then finally, why do they choose you? Okay. Some prompts to start thinking about that, really focusing in on what characteristics are we looking for in that ideal client. I do like to say, what is your most profitable customer type? If obviously you guys want to focus on those people that are helping grow your business. What keeps your ideal client, ideal customer awake at 3 a.m.? And how does that relate to how you help them? Okay. What questions are they asking? What objections are coming up for you from your customers or on your sales calls that we can answer for them? Cool. Hopefully everyone got a screenshot. Okay. What makes you different from your competitors? Now, the thing with being different and standing out is I really believe there's 2 different paths we can take with this. There's one path where you might have a really unique product and a really unique offer that truly stands out above everyone else, and it's very, very different, okay? If that is the case, if you are very different, you then have to connect why that's important to your ideal client, okay? It can't just be valuable to you, it has to be valuable to the ideal client. If your point of difference is similar to your other competitors, let's say you have really great customer service, then we need to prove it, okay? If we're very similar to our competitors, not only do we have to explain why that's important, that point of difference is important, we also need to prove why yours is better. And we're going to get into that in the next stage when we get to the second part of the framework, different elements we can bring in to prove it, okay? So some examples for you when you're developing your point of difference and what makes you different from your competitors is your customer service incredible, okay? Maybe that's a huge one for you. This could even be for a product-based business. You might have incredible customer service that's locally based, but then we need reviews to prove that, or something of that sense, okay? We need to prove how we're able to do that. Does your product have additional benefits that other people's don't? We need to clarify those, but we also need to make sure our ideal client will understand why those benefits are important to them. Is the proof in the pudding? Do you have targeted ways of getting results faster? That's great. We also need to improve it. This is where we're seeing a huge push for people doing things like guarantees. No, it's not for everyone, but they are doing really well at the moment if you can guarantee a particular result. But maybe instead, if you can't guarantee that result, maybe instead you're just proving it in really strong case studies and reviews, which again, we'll get into in the next framework in terms of some lists of things where you can improve it more. Perfect. Okay. So building for conversions. So the thing is, like I said, your website isn't there to just look pretty, it's there to work. And so I'm going to give you guys a list of a few steps that you can do and different elements you can incorporate into your website to make sure that it is working for your business. So when we talked about the brand, obviously the brand, the step one, is going to really affect the messaging and how you're speaking to the client. But this is going to be some elements that we can use to really make sure it's working.
And just to clarify for those that perhaps aren't so familiar with the terminology, when you say
Yeah.
brand, do you mean colors, logo, slogan? What do you stand for? Is there anything else?
Great question. So when I speak about brand, which I touched on very briefly, but I can explain it a little bit further for you guys. There's your brand is really how your whole how someone interprets your whole business. So that might be your visual brand, how people see your logo and your colors and your fonts. But more so in those first slides, I'm talking about the foundations of your brand, so your brand strategy. And that's really where most people skip that step because it's really, you got to actually think about that and think deeper. That's the step that's really valuable to developing a brand in a business that people actually go ahead with.
And then the website is built on that brand.
Then the website is an asset to your brand. So it's built on top of that. Yeah, great question. Thank you. Thank you. So for conversions, now this is what we were just talking about with your point of difference. Now we've got to prove why you, okay? So this is probably the biggest mistake I see. We've audited over 200 plus websites this year alone. This is probably one of the biggest mistakes I see is that we just think simple reviews is enough. Reviews are great, but the more proof we can provide, that's how you can really see when someone is an industry leader in their space is the amount of proof, and you know that they've got a really solid offer, product or service is when they're able to prove that it really works. So testimonials is one, especially if you're pulling testimonials or reviews from things like Google are really helpful, or at least providing as much detail as you can. Now, I know for this section, that there's going to be some people that have rules and legislation around what they can prove. I know I've worked with you guys before. It's really difficult if you're in the beauty space. There's some rules around this. Look, some you guys might be able to work around this, and it's just really thinking about maybe doing some research in terms of what you can provide. Some of you guys just unfortunately might have to skip this slide. It just is what it is. There's only so much info you can provide. If you do have to skip this slide, I think the one thing you can get away with is Google reviews, as long as people aren't sharing too much with the products. I'm thinking about my injection space. Anyone in the running clinics like that, it can get a little bit tight. But getting more into it. So like I said, reviews are really valuable if we can provide as much information as possible, or if we can pull them directly from Google so people know that they can't be faked. Okay.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Take a photo of this one because Em's going to be
Yes.
charging through this content before we get onto the case studies.
Yeah, I know.
Amazingly, an hour goes so quickly. So take a photo of this. And I've seen a couple of questions come through, and we'll get to those at the end.
Okay, good. Ask all the questions, guys. The other ones, I'll go really quickly. So case studies, really building out case studies that you can talk about the results you've gotten. Video testimonials are really valuable right now, and highlighting specific results. So not being like, oh, he's amazing, or having your customer fill out a ChatGPT. If they can get a bit more specific in terms of what they, and obviously we can't control what our customers write, but really showcase the ones that are a bit more specific. Cool. Okay. Build authority. So this is for those people that are ready to step into being a leader in their space, and that's building authority. So especially for anyone in wellness space or accounting space that can display, certifications, accreditation, wherever possible. Features, if we've got media features or industry awards, or creating content. So being a guest creator, or creating blogging. So something that's working really well at the moment is long form content, which is, for example, like podcast blogging. Okay. So This level, stage 2. This is when you've proved why you. This is stage 2. So for those of you that answered that don't have a website yet, this might feel like overwhelming, okay? But this is for the people that are ready to step up to that next level and be an industry leader in their space. That's where we need to start building some authority. So if you're not at that phase yet, where you're just getting your website undergoing, or you're just trying to see if your website's valuable, let's start with stage 1, and then we'll move here after. Okay. Make it stupidly simple. Okay. So we really need you to review your existing website and analyze how easy it is for someone to contact or buy from you, and make sure that process is as frictionless as possible. Okay. So choosing the core goals of your website and sticking to it. Okay. We really want to know. Usually there's maybe 1 to 2 core goals. It might be they purchase a product from you. It might be they sign up for a 10% discount. It might be they fill out a contact form. It might be they click a call link and they book a call. Okay. Usually we find websites about 2 to 3 to 4 at the most. If there's a little bit more, then we just design it a little bit cleaner in a way. Clear call to actions that are easy to find. So making sure your buttons are really easy to find and quite frequent throughout your pages. They should be able to find all the information that they need to make a decision in 2 clicks or less. Okay. Make sure you're reviewing your website across all devices. And my favorite, I know we're running low on time, Kate, but my favorite is frequently asked questions, which is on the right-hand side here. Frequently asked questions that answer the stuff they're too nervous to ask and handle objections before they're brought up. This one is performing so well. We run a lot of tests and look at a lot of data. People love clicking on these. If you're getting a lot of objections and questions, your team are getting calls every day about questions, these need to be answered on your website. Okay, and finally, standard design. So I want you to be really honest with yourself when you get off this call and look at your website. Is it as professional and impressive at first glance? So when your ideal client lands there, are they going to actually be impressed and build trust in those first 3 seconds? Okay. So we'll be able to come back to this slide again. I know we're ready to get into the case studies. Kate's giving me that look. So we'll come back to this at the end, but here are your key action items. Kate, do you want me to go through these right now, or do you want me to go through the case
Take a
studies?
photo of this, because I'm having a look at a couple of the questions and we're going to be back on this slide.
Okay, cool. We'll come back to this slide and answer the questions at the end then. You're happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Oh my gosh, so many questions, you guys. Okay. I'm ready. Okay, so for you guys to see this I'm gonna set my timer. So you guys can see this in action. This is our client, Tara. She runs an e-commerce brand, so an online store. It's called Dreamer RV. She went from startup to 7 figures using this exact framework with us, okay? So she came to us with a startup brand with a strong product, but really no brand or brand strategy behind it. She had a visual brand. We actually haven't changed her visual brand too much, but she wasn't really clear on her messaging and who she was speaking to and how to speak to them. The website technically worked, but just not well. It just meant she had to spend more time driving traffic and more money driving traffic just to make the sale. The user experience was really clunky. It was really stressful for anyone shopping on there. And her team were getting so many questions. And the conversions were really slow, which just meant her growth was capped. So this is the one that Kate was like, it's really hard to tell the difference. So I'm going to walk you
The
through
before and
with
the
you guys.
after looks so similar. And then Em spoke me through like, okay, well, this is like to a trained person who knows the tweaks and knows how people work.
Yeah.
These are the things that actually make a difference. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So on the left-hand side, for anyone that's a bit confused, is the before. And on the right-hand side is the after, okay?
And they're both beautiful.
They're both
And yet one makes more money.
Yeah, exactly. So the one on the right, and I mean, you can go ahead and Google Tara's website as well, but the one on the right, we followed this framework. So the very first thing we worked with her on was to get really clear in terms of her ideal client. And we spent a lot of time focusing in on her points of difference, which she had highlighted here, but also just how to speak to them. Okay. This allowed us to bring in all the different elements that we needed to encourage people to go ahead and buy. So there's a few things that we really focused on with her. The first one is she's ready to step into an authoritative piece, authoritative brand. So she is a very unique product on the market. She has done a lot of work in terms of working with content creators and going to lots of different shows or media features. So we were able to feature that for her and grow her as being that authority piece. We've also done a lot of we've started doing long form content with her. So a lot of blogging on that sense as well. We've done that for her, not only for authority, but also for SEO, for search engine optimization. We're doing some content creation. And probably the biggest thing that we worked on with Tara was actually making sure it's stupidly simple for someone to go ahead and shop with her and find the information that they want. So a lot of people, they go ahead and they make it really simple in the sense where it's, oh, I just need to add a couple buttons here and click here. That's fine. We need to make it really simple for them to click through. But for Tara, we had to make it easy for them to click through, but also easy for them to find the information to make a decision. So the information, yes, we had to make it easy for them to shop and check out and do that. But a lot of people were getting stuck because they had so many questions that weren't answered and were hard to find the answers to. And so that's where her team were getting all the phone calls with people that were brave enough to get on the phone. But we were still missing out on the people that just clicked out of the website and left straight away. So we really worked with her to make it really simple to shop, but also find that information. Cool. So as a result, after working with us, Tara has been very much building her strong brand. And as a result, she's really started to develop a community. So she's now got a really seamless user experience and shopping experience as a whole. And that's actually led to a dramatic increase in conversions. So after 9 months, Tara had a 530% increase in revenue directly through the website, pushed her business into high 6 figures in the first 9 months. After 18 months with us, Tara has confirmed that there's been a ton of momentum and it's tripled her revenue. She's now hit the 7-figure mark, which is very, very cool. Very cool. She also travels in a caravan with her family around Australia, which is really cool. She has, a pretty good lifestyle. She's living the life, that's for sure. But she, her business, as a result of her website, has really been able to grow.
And there's just a couple of questions that have been popping up while we're on this, which was why the change from the picture of the caravan to the picture of the woman?
Oh,
and it's come up 3 times, so I thought I'd ask it now.
Let's hit it. Okay, so the picture of the woman is, I can't do video on the presentation, but if you actually go to the website, it's actually a video. So it's a video of her. That's a really great question, actually, everyone. Thank you for asking that. It's actually a video of her, of someone using the product. And so it's a lot more immersive in the sense where, you kind of watch her go into the caravan and you watch her use the product, that kind of thing, versus the photo. You actually don't see the product in the photo. So it's very different in that sense. It's really telling a story in that initial video. At the same time, when you use video above the fold like this, you really need to be optimized for speed. It can start to affect speed, but that's something we've worked with Tara to be able to put that in. But yeah, that's why we brought in that what looks like a photo. It's actually a video.
Great. Thank you for that.
Oh, good. Cool. Great question. Gosh, we got some smart people in the comments. Cool. Okay. So meet Jess. Jess is a service provider now. So she, a service provider in a sense, she actually runs an outsourcing agency. So she runs Agent Sync, who do offshore outsourcing. Jess came to us with a really clear goal to establish the brand and build a community of virtual assistants and clients. She had a GoDaddy website that was very much holding her back. It was a template did nothing to impress. I will show you in the next slide. This is a very clear difference point. She was a little embarrassed when I told her we'd show her old website, but she's happy to do it. But she was getting pretty much no leads through the website. Everything came through social media. She was answering in the DMs, a much slower lead flow. Her team was very much stuck in the spot because they couldn't really grow because they didn't have a website as a part of their marketing and sales flow to be able to grow the business. And she wanted to scale her brand, her website. It needed that serious upgrade. So, like I said, left side is the before, right side is the after. Before, you can see this is her GoDaddy website. Pretty, very much just something she needed to get up in the interim, quite basic. And then her other website on the other side, which is her custom website through us. And again, we very much followed this 3-step framework with her. Now, for those who are going to ask, the top photo at the top is actually a video as well. You just can't see it. But that is a video. We do find video does perform really well in storytelling when it's done right. Our websites, we do find a lot of our websites do use video. Because
and they're little snippets. It's like stitched together.
Yeah.
It's a couple seconds of this, a couple of seconds of that. So you actually get a lot of data in a small period of time.
Exactly.
Without having to press play.
Yeah. Yeah. And very short videos, Kate said, like 10 seconds, because most people are going to scroll past it. It's just you're trying to get like as much emotion in those first couple of seconds that they're looking as possible. We're able to get that a lot faster when we have some video in there. Cool. So again, we followed that framework. We got really clear with Jess in terms of her, like who she's speaking to and how she's going to speak to them. Initially, the copy was pretty flat. You can even see in her, on the left-hand side, her title, her heading at the very top there was literally just Agent Sync, which gave no context to how she helps her ideal clients. Or if you find the one at the top over here, it says, finding your new offshore team member has never, ever been easier. I think we can all agree that right-hand side, you definitely want to reach out a lot more than just seeing someone's name on the side. So you can see in the different, like in the copywriting, as you scroll down this page, how we've really gotten clear on the brand and then brought that into the rest of the written words, which is called copywriting. So, finding your new offshore team member has never, ever been easier, or the line underneath in the next section, you'll always find the right virtual assistant for your business with Agent Sync. Okay. So very much focused in on the brand has made a huge impact for Jess. And then we also brought in a lot of those elements as well to very much prove her. We use a lot of proof in terms of the clients that she works with. You can see the banner on the second section down where it says our clients. She works with a lot of real estate brands. So she's got all of the logos listed there, so people can know that she's worked with their type of business before. So we've been able to prove that, but you'll also see as you scroll through this website, a ton of testimonials, case studies as well. There's actually a page at the top that says success stories that goes to different success stories that she's worked with different teams to bring in staff. And then as well as just making it very, very simple and easy to find all the information that someone can find that they need to make that decision. So if you actually go to agentsync.com.au, you'll find that the way the information is organized, it's very skimmable. It's very easy to find the information that you need. There's charts or click-throughs that you can go through and find what you need to be able to have all your questions answered, to be able to go make a decision, to go ahead and book a call with her team. The result? After launching her new website, Jess, of course, instantly received positive feedback. It was a huge up-level for her and for her customer experience as well. But then the numbers followed after that. So she saw a 270% increase, which is a 2.7x increase in revenue directly from the website. Okay, it was driven by exactly what I talked about, the brand foundations, a focus on conversion, and really impressive design. And so in her first year post-launch, which was just her second year of business, she hit $1 million in revenue. After that, multi-million dollars in revenue, which is pretty cool to see. This is her screenshot she sent me when she was all excited. Sent her a beautiful gift as well because I was just so excited for her. Such a huge milestone for anyone in business. Cool. Kate, how are we going for
You ready
time?
for Q&A?
I'm ready. I'm ready. I
All
heard
right,
there's lots, so I wanted to get through that so we can
yes,
actually.
yes, there's amazing. There's a few that have come through on the chat, and I have been asking if you can pop it in the Q&A. So if you go along the bottom of the screen, there's an icon that says Q&A, and if you pop it in there, then I've got everything together. Just because I think if I scroll through the webinar chat, I'm going to miss something. So
Yeah.
if you can move them over to the Q&A, that would be amazing. We'll do our best. At the moment, we've got 18 questions, so I'm going to gather a few together because there
Yeah.
are some similar themes. There were questions about some stats. So what website conversion rate should we be aiming for, and bounce rate? And was AI used to improve website performance? I
Say
don't know
that.
if
What was
that's
that?
too AI. Is AI used to improve website performance?
Performance.
They might be two
Oh,
separate
that's a
questions.
separate question.
Okay,
I'll come to
let's
conversion.
start with
Okay.
bounce rate and conversion rate.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to focus on conversion rate. Bounce rate is also important, but I don't want to get too confused in what you should focus on. I would really focus on conversion rate, but then at the same time, conversion is and I'm also going to tell you what else I want you to focus on. Okay. Conversion rate, especially, I'm going to try to answer this question in a few different ways. Just the reason being, every business is different in terms of how they review conversion rate. Okay. So if you're an e-commerce brand, you're going to look at it differently from a service provider. And so for e-commerce, let's start here. Now I hate to say it, you guys are going to hate this answer. It really depends. It depends on a couple of different components, and I'll do some ranges as well. If you are running ads, if you're doing paid, and you're getting a lot more colder traffic. So when I say colder traffic, I mean people that don't know you. Okay. So you haven't built a community on Instagram or emails, or they know you through a networking event. This is for people that don't know you. You're driving cold traffic, which is usually through ads, SEO, things like that. The conversion rate's going to be lower. Okay. And for ecom, we're probably seeing somewhere to aim somewhere like 1.5 to 5% usually for the conversion rate for ecom. If you're doing, you're probably going to be farther on the lower side if you're doing a lot of colder traffic. And then it sometimes can go above that 5% if you have warmer traffic landing there. So if you have less people landing there, and if you have less people landing there and they're coming from like places where they already know you, that conversion rate can go higher. Okay. Am I making sense, Kate?
Yes. So basically, the more they know, like, and trust you, the
Yes.
higher your conversion is going to be because they've already built that rapport. But if they're
Exactly.
fresh people, it's going
Yeah.
to take a bit longer and your conversion rate will be lower.
Yeah. So if you're going like driving a lot of traffic, you're probably going to find your conversion rate goes lower, and then it starts to correct itself as you start to optimize more.
Is that same as if you're paying for ads?
Exactly, because you're driving more traffic. So if you start a new marketing strategy like paid ads, especially because the ads are gonna affect that conversion rate as well, you'll find that it'll dip for a bit as you start to correct it. Okay. Service providers, kind of the same thing, although I find service providers can be a little bit higher conversion rate, especially if they are like doing directly to a network or like doing organic content on LinkedIn or Instagram. It can be anywhere from like 5 to, I've had some clients with landing pages that do 15%, which is very high. So that really depends again on your traffic. I would say that's a question that you can even ask like AI, ChatGPT, or or like Google it as well with what I just talked about. So like where your traffic's coming from, and where and how many people are landing there, and what industry you're in, and then you'll be able to find a conversion rate that's closer to what is actually going to make sense for you.
Great. There's just a follow up to that. Back end linking Google, does that assist to increase the conversion rate?
That's more so around your SEO. That's going to assist to drive more traffic. Okay, so that's your search engine optimization. That's going to assist to drive more traffic to your website.
Yeah, great.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool. AI question. The AI question.
Yes.
AI, we use AI to analyze, but nothing has been used in terms of AI to, I mean, these websites were probably like Jess's was launched and before, or like maybe at the same time that ChatGPT was coming out. So, and then has been like optimized since then as well. But nothing was used in terms of AI in the sense of the build. We do test AI regularly in terms of building a website for conversions.
Hmm.
It's very close in terms of the development, not quite on the design side. It will be there very soon, but it's just not there yet for AI websites in terms of websites that actually work.
All right. Question from Rosie. I have a Squarespace website and receive no leads through my website or Google Ads. I'm not sure if it's an SEO issue. What do you recommend to help?
Okay. So Rosie, if you're running Google Ads, you're driving traffic there already. So the first thing I would be looking at is how much traffic you're getting to your website. And then you can know if, like, if you're getting, it sounds, because you say you're doing Google Ads, so it sounds like you're paying to get traffic there. SEO is different. So for everyone here, there's obviously different channels of marketing. There's social media marketing, then there's ads, like meta ads, and then there's Google ads, and then there's SEO, so search engine optimization. So search engine optimization is more like an organic way of getting your ranking higher. It has nothing to do with conversions, has nothing to do with your, I mean, it will affect, that's more of like a Google expert, will affect your,
Hmm.
that's a question for someone else on my team around how it affects your Google ads. But I would be asking, looking at your website, how many people are landing there? And then, yes, very much analyzing if you're getting no leads. Sounds like it might be a bit of a conversion problem if you are driving enough traffic to that website and no one is going ahead and booking or buying.
Hmm. Just on the SEO, there's a couple of questions popping up about people want to know more about utilizing SEO to drive more customers there in the first place, which is a whole topic in itself.
Full topic, full
Ugh.
topic. SEO is something worth looking into. The first thing I always say, anyone wanting to go Google is to, one, ask yourself, is your ideal client there? It's like not everyone's ideal client is on Instagram. One, make sure your ideal client is hanging out and looking for you. They are actually looking for you on Google. And then two, you're going to look at how competitive those keywords are. And then starting a strategy. SEO is great. It's a great strategy. It's kind of going a little bit off topic, but
Mm.
definitely ask yourself those first two things before you dive into it.
And I'm just like pulling this out because I didn't realize this when I first got into business, but SEO is about 1,000 a month. Is that right? Like it's not it
If
is
you,
something to budget if you do
yeah,
it.
if you're going through an agency.
Okay.
Yeah, and every industry is going to be different. Some people get lucky. Some people, because there's low search volume for that particular term. So like you Google leadership training, and that's probably a very common term people are searching. But if you get a little bit more niche, there might be a term someone ranks for because there's no one else there. We're getting a bit nitty gritty, guys, a little bit off
Yep.
topic.
All right. Other questions. Oh, there's 30 in there now, so I'm going to group a few more.
Yeah,
There were questions that came up when you're talking about reviews or case studies. People
yeah,
that don't have them, they work in an industry where it's like coaching where people are private and it's hard to ask.
yeah.
Early stage of businesses.
Okay.
Other ideas on how to get them, how to ask without being pushy.
Yeah, good questions. Good questions. There's a few there I'm going to try to touch on. First, I'm going to go down people that actually like have difficulty in their industry. Um, I would ask if it's difficult around legislation and privacy. Yes, can be a little bit more difficult. I find it is easier to ask for reviews for service providers than product because product you almost need to be like you don't have that relationship. I understand there's coaches and there is a sense of privacy. You can have reviews that don't have as much information on them and are a little bit more private. Or I have had clients where they just like one don't want to ask their clients for it. That's where we almost built a bit of a like a private case study. So they talk about, I got this client, I'm not going to name them. They came to me with this situation. We helped them
Mm.
do this, this, and this. And then this was the end result. And so they have actual pages that just talk about like a client story without sharing any names or personal details. And then they're able to be like, okay, this is it. So at least if someone lands there, they're able to see that you know what you're talking about and you can solve their
Mhm.
problems. if you are in an industry where it's a problem in terms of sharing personal information, I mean, the good thing is that everyone else in your industry is having the same problem. But also just thinking about more creative ways to do it. Like, for example, I've worked with a high conflict divorce coach before. So obviously quite private situation in terms of the kind of people she works with. We were still able to get reviews, but we just did it really tastefully and kept a lot of private information to ourselves and just did a lot more storytelling. Cool.
Super. All right.
The next thing around a new business, if you're a
Yes.
new business, I mean, you got to get your feet dirty. Surely you've got a few customers, a few clients. You can
Or
just,
free, like for service, ask
or
someone, I'd like
yes,
to get your review of this in
yes.
exchange.
Yep, exactly. Like going to your next person being, hey, I'm doing this at a bit of a discount or I'm doing this for free. I just would
Yeah.
really love to get a bit of a review. If you do have a couple
Yeah.
customers, like reaching out to them, I'm sure if you have done a really good job of the work that they won't hesitate to give you a review. But then if you're, I mean, if you're giving, you want to make sure you're giving a good service, right? So people actually want to give a review as well. That's the kicker, is that if you've got a really good service, a really good product, people do want to give you reviews because it is, quality.
Mm-hmm. And particularly, Kirsten, you've asked about early stage of business. We should be testing the product or the service prior to putting it to market anyway. So see if you can talk to those people, or even if it's anonymous, and just talk about how they went from A to B and where they are now.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. There's a question about website video. Does it need to be your customer, or can it be the founders of a very small HR business? Do you use your face for the business, or do you use, yeah?
Yeah, this is a great question.
Yes.
We actually find a few different, I mean, that's a good example. We either do one of two things. Usually the customer isn't at the photo shoot. So we'll do one, it's just the founder there or just the founder and small team. Like we do have a lot of small team people, but we just did someone for like a reconciliation consultant, and she had a photo shoot and she got video of herself. But the key is she also got B-roll of her doing other things where it's not just her face. Okay, so I want you to go into Pinterest, create a board, and look for B-roll photography that's more like you typing on a laptop, you like doing your work, maybe talking to your screen or talking on your phone, but it's from behind, and it's mixing in more content that's like not just your face, because I know that's like it's a lot when someone lands and they just see your face everywhere. So
Yes.
doing that is one option. The other option is just to get someone, random in the shoot, and you just see the back of their head, and it looks like you're speaking to someone, but they're just in the shoot.
Yeah.
I really find we actually, when we work with our clients, we guide them on the photo shoot. So we help them develop a plan for their photo shoot, and this is a core part of it, is making sure it's not just like photos and videos of them standing stock in the middle of the frame. It's like we're trying to mix in some shots that are a little bit different. So it's creating a bit of a scene. So definitely go and create like a Pinterest board, or go Google, find some examples that you really like to present to your photographer, and then doing a shoot like this. Hopefully that answered your question.
Amazing. And also, those of us that have their own business, we don't like to see our face everywhere, and that's one way to.
Yes. Yeah, and there's creative ways you can get around that. It doesn't have to be your face.
Yes.
Like it can be from like
And still
the
be
back of your head,
personal.
or yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It can still be really nice, and it's worth doing like a proper shoot at least once every, 3-4 years if you have
Yes,
to,
yeah.
just to get that, build your brand.
Agreed. All right. We still have 25 questions, even though I'm
Oh my
trying to
gosh,
plow
sorry
through.
guys.
Okay. Questions about what type of website do you recommend to maximize SEO? I'm currently on Wix. Would love to hear thoughts about transitioning to WordPress. I've also got questions about GoDaddy. How much does a website cost? I can't afford to spend a lot of time on my website. Is Shopify a good option?
Are they e-com? Okay, we're going to go 2 options again. E-com.
Yeah.
E-com is really good for, so what's good, Shopify obviously has risen a lot. That's for e-com brands only, okay? If you don't have an e-com brand, don't use Shopify. WordPress and WooCommerce are also really good, but they definitely require, there's more customization when it comes to WordPress and WooCommerce. So which is a good thing for a lot of businesses. So our own agency, we use WordPress, WooCommerce quite a bit, but we also use Squarespace, Shopify, Webflow, all those other platforms as well. But we do find we lead to WordPress and WooCommerce because of the flexibility of what we're able to do and the SEO capabilities. Now, that's not saying that any platform is bad, but like I said, probably if you're e-com, Shopify, WooCommerce is good. If you're service provider, then I mean, Squarespace is really good for a simple website. I know Kate's got a Squarespace website, but then WordPress we use very prominently. There's also brands like Showit or Webflow. Wix is okay. You are going to have limits, and this is a controversial opinion, but you're going to have limits to optimization for SEO, and also in terms of responsive design. It can be, when I say responsive design, I'm talking about going from your phone to your tablet to desktop. I find a lot of Wix websites, they don't translate very well. So it can be a bit limiting. Last thing I want to say on that, because I know we're trying to go fast. WordPress, if you're using WordPress, WordPress.org, not .com. It's different.
Oh, good tip. Okay. There's questions here about budgets. How much is a GoDaddy? What
Yeah.
can you send through pricing? I don't like how long's a piece of string. I don't know if you have basic ballparks on what a standard website is versus a custom website, but I also appreciate this is asking perhaps a little bit about your personal business versus just advice. So this could be a tricky one.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't want to get caught promoting our business here. I mean, we do have pricing on our website if you want to go there. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but we do have pricing on sperastudios.com. There is some pricing breakdowns there. But yes, how long is a piece of string? We've done websites that are like anywhere from 5 to 10K. I've done websites that are 100, 200K. It depends. It's like Amazon is a multi-million dollar website, where
Yeah.
if you go to something that's like Squarespace, it's going to be more affordable. I'm sorry. I know that's the answer that you didn't want.
Yeah.
I would go sit down and figure out how much you're willing to budget to build a website that actually works for your business. Someone who's quite established, I would recommend, you get what you pay for. So I would recommend investing enough into that. If you're starting out, it's a little bit more difficult. I know it's kind of like might be worth DIYing or just finding someone really cheap to help you just get something live.
Mhm.
It's just really sitting down and figuring out what can I afford to invest, because this is, like I said, it's your online home. It's where you're going to be driving all your traffic. And when it's done right, that's where it actually works and grows your business.
Great. Question about like how succinct the copy, so the words on the website was that you shared, and
Mm.
is that a professional copywriter, and is that something you do in-house, or can people get copywriters? How does that work?
Great question. So Dreamer RV she wrote it herself, and we audited it. So we actually audit our clients' website copy for them to help guide them. Agent Sync was written with a copywriter. So there are professional copywriters that are really incredible. But then also I do have clients that can write it themselves. I would say when it comes to your copy, your written copy, more direct is, I'm finding, performing really well without being too professional and dry. So please, everyone, get out of ChatGPT. We know, we can all tell when it's written in ChatGPT.
The M dashes.
ChatGPT, ChatGPT is great though, like great for prompting and for getting you to start thinking, especially if you've trained your ChatGPT really well. I'm not against ChatGPT. I think it's really valuable. But just making sure you're rewriting it in a way that sounds like you, sounds not too dry and full of jargon and too professional, but still really direct and to the point. Nothing. There was a time in 2020 where like copy was quite fluffy. It's definitely gotten to the point where it's more direct and getting to the point. I think really focusing in on like what you're trying to say and then bringing that to the copy. Copywriters, there's so many copywriters. Like I said, they can go anywhere from like 2K to like, I've seen copywriters for 30, 40, 50K projects. Depends on what you want. Or if you do go to an agency to build your website, a lot of them have them in-house. We have a copywriter in-house.
Amazing. Okay.
Oh
There's a
my
question from Sharon about tried and true font combos, color combos for female bias brands. I'd say maybe Pinterest.
gosh.
Do you have any recommendations? I'd say
That's
either work with a studio or
yeah.
do some Googling of what you like and ask your people.
It's hard to say because I feel like when you try to say there's one set is when we fall into trends. And that's where you get into like, oh, I'm speaking to female business owners. I need to have handwrite. I need to have cursive. I need to have pink. I need to have like, I think that's wrong. I think that's where you get really stuck into the trends, and your brand and your website get very outdated quickly.
Mm.
I would say finding a professional to guide you with this if you're feeling stuck, or go find some inspiration that you feel like your ideal client wants to see. But please be really careful. Don't go with something just because you love it. Obviously, you have to love it, but you also need to go back to what I said, step one, brand foundations. Who are we speaking to? What do they want to see? Make sure it's impressive for them. And then, yeah, go find some inspiration out there if you are DIYing, just to see some combinations that you really like. Or two, I really think this is where a professional comes in. I know my creative would be like talking about design psychology and all of the things. That's where a professional really gets into it.
Amazing. Thanks, Em. Look, we've had about 50 questions and we've got through half of them. Thank you for everyone that has asked them, and I've gathered as much as I can, but there were a couple that were so specific that as much as we would have loved to be able to answer them, we just don't have the space on today's webinar because we've had so many people turn up, which is amazing. It's a wonderful resource. And this recording will be available probably tomorrow. It'll be up on the website. And just to help you go through, there's obviously so much content on here to make sure that we've got sort of this great tool. So if you could just show up the next slide, I'd love to show everyone that you can join in for next week's webinar. It is our last one in the series, Winning and Keeping Customers, same time, same place. It's in the chat. You can join up on that link. And also would love to know what you thought of this webinar, what else you'd love to see. There's a couple of comments that we'd love on SEO. Pop this on the feedback, which is the next slide, and Cynthia will pop that in the chat too. So then we can really tailor our future sessions as well. So thank you all so much for joining. We'll see you next week. Make sure you see this recording and share with your friends and other business owners. It's such an amazing service to have these sessions. And thank you, Em, so much for sharing all your knowledge today. I feel much wiser already.
Of course, of course. Thank you for having me. Thank you everyone for the great questions. That was awesome.
Wonderful. Thank you.